I would really request you to listen to these two young Indians who will present their research work and their project, and hopefully we will publish it, and they will publish it. I'm trying to convince them to publish it in our IVF Light journal. I would like to request the dignitaries on the dais to be seated down. 13 brightest young Indian scientists were selected out of about 39 applicants, and I think Vishwajit Kamath is there with us with Nanda Juwatkar from Milan. I would like them to come up in front. They can present the awards to the two people who are there, and then we will ask them to have short 8-minute presentations. The four winners are Rutwij Dalal from Pezza Kapili, Kerala. They work there. He's originally from Ahmedabad. He's young, very young. He's done his fellowship in fertility just 1 year back. Akanksha Mishra is an embryologist who's done her master's at, I think, Cambridge. Their flight is delayed from Cochin, so they'll be here with us a little later in the night. And we have Sakina Kagalwala from Bombay and Ramya Ramani from Bombay. And both of them are here. Sakina Kagalwala will talk on Acuvit. Sakina, can you come up? Vishwajit and Nanda, can you present the award? Thank you, Vishwajit. Thank you, Nanda. Mylan has just launched its operations in India, and I'm grateful to them for having, listened to me and instituted an award for these young scientists. And this will go a long way in helping research in India. Can I invite Ramya Ramani? I think she's just 20 or 23. She's young, but I want her to have an international audience listening to her. Ramya Ramani, again from Mumbai, who's going to talk on a comparison of two different vitrification methods for cryopreservation of mature human oocytes.
For this session, I'd like to welcome our chairpersons. Dr. Mehraju Din, infertility and IVF specialist from Srinagar, and Dr. Manjari Kavde, IVF specialist from Mumbai. I welcome them on dais to chair the session.
I am Dr. Mehraj from Srinagar. I am a gynecologist. We are from J&K State. First time coming to the Rotunda conference. I am very thankful that we are now included and introduced in such conferences. Thank you very much. Now our speaker, Sakina, I am giving brief introduction about her. She has done MSc, has been working as an embryologist at Rotunda, the Center for Human Reproduction, since 2008. She has obtained a Master's of Biotechnology in Life Sciences from University of Mumbai in 2008. She has gained extensive experience in all ART techniques and laboratory management. She is well versed with the latest cutting-edge technologies offered at Rotunda. Her research interests are extended embryo culture and vitrification of oocytes and embryos. I would like Sakina that she will present her paper.
Good evening, everyone. My today's topic is IVF Light, a new strategy for managing poor responders. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Gautam and Goral ma'am for supporting us all throughout and helping us in this presentation as well. IVF Light, a new strategy for managing poor responders. Poor ovarian response to ovarian stimulation usually indicates a reduction in follicular response, resulting in a reduced number of retrieved oocytes. Poor ovarian response is not a rare occurrence in ovarian stimulation. The incidence of poor ovarian response is about 10 to 15% in women undergoing IVF treatment. Poor ovarian response is an intractable problem in infertility treatment. With no clear definition or consensus, it has managed to dodge the advances in infertility treatment. Factors affecting ovarian reserve: advanced maternal age, premature ovarian failure, and decreased ovarian reserve due to genetics, surgery, endometriosis, radiation, and chemotherapy. Poor ovarian reserve not only affects egg production but also affects oocyte quality. It is associated with low pregnancy rate irrespective of the treatment. How to define a poor ovarian responder? Age more than 40 years, number of follicles less than 3, number of retrieved oocytes less than 3, and excessive requirements of gonadotropins, approximately more than 450 IU. The ovarian reserve tests are basal day 3 FSH, AMH, and AFC. Garsha et al. First described poor ovarian responder in 1983, some about 30 years ago. However, no uniform definition was used to classify a patient as poor responder in later studies, making it difficult to draw reliable conclusions. Polizos et al. In his systemic review of randomized controlled trials for treatment of poor responders found a striking variability regarding the definition of poor ovarian responders. Among 47 randomized trials, 41 different definitions of patients with poor response had been used. In 2011, Eshrey reached a consensus of minimal criteria required to define a poor response. In order to define a poor response in IVF, at least 2 of the following 3 features must be present: advanced maternal age or any other risk factor for poor ovarian response, a previous poor ovarian response, and an abnormal ovarian reserve test. 2 episodes of poor ovarian response after maximal stimulation are sufficient to define a patient as a poor responder in absence of advanced maternal age or an abnormal ovarian reserve test. Bologna criteria was the first realistic attempt by the scientific community to standardize the definition of poor ovarian response in a simple and reproducible manner. If uniformly adapted in future clinical trials, more homogeneous population will be tested. It will reduce bias, making it possible to compare results and draw reliable conclusions. Cairo et al. In a systemic review and meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials in poor responders compared different protocols. The meta-analysis concluded that none of the reviewed protocols was successful in significantly increasing the success rates for poor ovarian responders. Many studies have been published since then about the potential treatment approaches for poor ovarian responders. The exhausted ovarian apparatus is unable to react to any stimulation, no matter how powerful this might be. A satisfactory treatment approach to improve the outcomes for this particular group of patients has not been established. Minimal stimulation protocols were evolved with intention of providing a more natural stimulation for IVF. These protocols have shown to have many advantages over conventional ovarian stimulation protocols, the main one being fewer but better quality oocytes. A minimal stimulation IVF is defined as a stimulation regime in which gonadotropins are administered at lower than the usual dose and for a shorter duration throughout the cycle, in which GnRH antagonist is given as a co-treatment, or a stimulation in which oral compounds, example anti-estrogens, are used either alone or in combination with gonadotropins and GnRH antagonists. Zhang et al. Describe a minimal stimulation protocol, Crescent Mini IVF. In this series, patients were not denied treatment based on the day 3 FSH or ovarian reserve test. Yet acceptable pregnancy rate of 20% for fresh embryo transfers and 41% for cryopreserved embryo transfers was obtained. These results strengthen the argument for a mini IVF protocol and vitrification as an alternative to conventional stimulation protocol. The mini IVF protocol requires a reliable and cheap method of embryo cryopreservation, such as cryotech vitrification. Because of the negative impact of clomiphene citrate on the endometrium, and since cryopreserved embryo transfer with this protocol have yielded much higher pregnancy rates than the fresh embryo transfer. The low number of embryos available for transfer poses a great challenge in the management of poor ovarian responders. A potential management of poor ovarian responders is to create a sufficient pool of embryos by accumulating good vitrified embryos over several minimal stimulation cycles. This would potentially make the chances of success for poor responders similar to those of normal responders. The current study was set out to assess the application of IVF-Lite protocol as a new strategy for managing poor responders. IVF-Lite consists of minimal stimulation protocol with embryo accumulation followed by a remote cycle embryo transfer. The current study is a retrospective data analysis of poor responders who underwent treatment at Rotunda. The patients were identified as poor responders based on Bologna criteria were included in the analysis. The minimal stimulation IVF protocol used in the study was clomiphene citrate 50 mg per day was started on day 2 or day 3 of the menstrual cycle and was continued for 10 days till maturity of follicles had been achieved. 150 IU of HMG was added on day 5 and continued till desired follicular size was achieved. GnRH antagonist 0.25 mg was added to the stimulation when the lead follicle size was 17 to 18 millimeter in diameter. When adding GnRH antagonist, the dose of HMG was increased by 75 to 150 IU at the discretion of the treating physician. GnRH antagonist was continued till the day of trigger. HCG trigger of 10,000 IU was given when the lead follicle size was 21 to 22 millimeter in diameter. The retrieved oocytes were fertilized either with IVF or ICSI and resulting embryos were vitrified on day 3. Back-to-back cycles of minimal stimulation followed by AccuVit were performed till about 6 good grade embryos were accumulated per patient. Unlike standard stimulation protocols, minimal stimulation does not require a resting cycle between 2 treatment cycles. The woman with poor ovarian reserve can have back-to-back consecutive cycles before the follicular reserve is depleted. It maximizes the already limited lifespan of the ovaries, allowing patients to store embryos while oocyte production is still active. A remote embryo transfer was performed when adequate embryos were accumulated. Using conventional IVF protocol, fresh embryo transfer was performed on day 3. A total of 55 poor ovarian responders underwent treatment with the IVF light protocol and 85 poor ovarian responders underwent treatment with the conventional IVF protocol. The mean values of age, basal blood FSH and AMH were comparable in both the groups. For the IVF light group, a total of 55 patients underwent 150 treatment cycles, and for the conventional IVF group, 85 patients underwent 149 treatment cycles. The percentage of cycle cancellation due to poor response, no oocyte retrieved, and failed fertilization were comparable in both the groups. However, the dosage of gonadotropins required per stimulated cycle was significantly different in the 2 groups. Dosage of gonadotropins required in the IVF light group was 1,482 units compared to conventional IVF, which required 12,096 units. Similarly, the difference in the number of gonadotropins required to produce a mature oocyte between the 2 groups was statistically significant. 579 units for the IVF light group compared to 4,819 units for the conventional IVF group. The fertilization rates and the cleavage rates were similar in both the groups. However, the percent of mature oocytes retrieved was higher in the IVF light group. The percentage of mature oocytes in the IVF light group was 74.85% compared to 52.73% in the conventional IVF group. It is interesting to note the significant difference in the percentage of good grade embryos obtained. 79.73% in the IVF light group compared to 58.79% in the conventional IVF group. The number of embryos transferred per cycle was similar in both the groups. However, better quality oocytes were transferred in the IVF light group. Clinical pregnancy rate per embryo transfer was 28.5% in the IVF light group compared to 18.7% in the conventional IVF group. The cumulative pregnancy rate per patient was 41.81% in the IVF light group, which was much higher than 22.35% in the conventional IVF group. The number of attempts required to achieve pregnancy in the IVF light group where frozen embryo transfer was performed. 11 patients acquired pregnancy in the first attempt, 8 in the second, 3 in the third, and 1 in the fourth. Similarly, in the conventional IVF group where fresh embryo transfers were performed, 3 patients achieved pregnancy in the first attempt, 10 in the second, 6 in the third. However, none of the patients tried more than 3 attempts of stimulation cycle with conventional IVF protocol. The results obtained in the current study demonstrate that IVF light is a successful approach in treating poor responders. IVF light protocol gives a very favorable pregnancy rate per time spent by the patient, which is of utmost significance in this group of patients who are in a race against time to beget their own genetic offspring. Patient acceptability to milder stimulation protocol is better. Thank you.